This series of videos is intended to provide the sport of obedience with a clear explanation of the individual obedience exercises, procedures, and scoring. It is not intended to be the only resource, and participants in the sport are encouraged to attend judges' seminars and above all read the regulations. This is not an AKC product. It is based on the obedience regulations and shares the interpretations of many AKC judges. KPS takes full responsibility for its content. In order to understand the regulations, they must be studied. While the regulations are not particularly entertaining, they provide much of the information that it takes to be successful in the sport. Reading the regulations may not answer all of your questions, so we recommend handlers watch this video and attend any judges panel discussion or regulation seminars that may be available to the handler. AKC Judges Education webinars and videos are excellent resources as well. In this video, we will discuss the Novice Group Exercise. Chapter 3 tells us that there are 30 points available for this exercise. The team must retain more than 50% of the points available, or 15.5 points, in order to qualify in this exercise. The principal feature of this exercise is that the dog remain in a sitting or down position, whichever is required at the time. This exercise is conducted at the end of the class's individual exercises and can include as many as 12 dogs and handlers in the exercise. The judge will inform the stewards as to how the groups will be arranged. How dogs are brought into the ring and how they are arranged is up to the judge. Teams that have qualified during the individual exercises have the option to return for the group exercises. Teams are not required to return for groups, but should they fail to do so, their final score will be an NQ. Once you have decided and told the table steward or the judge that you will not be returning, you cannot change your mind later. You might ask yourself, why wouldn't a handler return for groups? Say, for example, the handler knows the littermate or best dog friend of their dog will be in the ring with his or her dog, and they are concerned that the dog won't hold the position and go visiting their friend. Or, say the handler is trying to maintain a certain average of overall scores, and their dog performed poorly in the individual exercises. If they NQ, it doesn't impact their average, so they choose not to return. Or it could be as simple as their dog doesn't feel well and they have decided to go home. The regulations limit the number of dogs that can be in the ring in groups depending upon the size of the ring. The following graphics illustrate how the judge must arrange the dogs in the ring. Dogs can be arranged in a variety of ways, but there are limitations. The ring size determines how many dogs can be judged in the group exercise. The ring size limits require that at least one side of the ring be 40 feet long. Most judges will use the long side of the ring for groups, but there are reasons for using the narrower side. The first limit for arrangement of the dogs is that no dog may be placed closer than 4 feet from the ring barrier. The second limitation is that the dogs must be placed at least 6 feet from any other dog. The first illustration shows a 40 by 50 foot ring with the dogs arranged in line with the long side of the ring in single file. In this arrangement, the limit to the number of dogs in the exercise is 6 dogs. The next visual shows the ring reduced in length by 5 feet. This creates a limit to 5 dogs in line with the long side of the ring. The third example again reduces the ring size, this time by 10 feet, causing the limitation of 4 dogs in line with the long side. In the fourth example, the dogs are lined up in line with the short side of the ring. The ring width is 35 feet and 4 dogs may be lined up in this arrangement. In the last single file example, the ring is now 40 by 30, with the dogs lined up in line with the short side of the ring. Only 3 dogs can be lined up in this arrangement. The judge can line the dogs up in double file. This effectively doubles the number of dogs that can be shown in groups at the same time. Using the same dimensions as before, we see that the numbers are reduced in a similar manner as in the single file examples. Remember that no dogs can be closer than 6 feet to another dog, so the back-to-back dogs must be 6 feet apart. It is important for the handler to understand that their dog should be relatively comfortable with this process and training before ever attempting it in a trial. A dog that has not been trained for this exercise should not be placed in this situation. It is essential that your dog be comfortable with other dogs and people prior to entering a trial. There are some dogs that are dog aggressive. This issue must be dealt with in training rather than in a trial. Regardless of how your dog has behaved in training, it is still important that you watch and maintain control of your dog. Handlers are frequently nervous, and this travels down the leash to the dog. Dogs may perceive that the handler's nervousness requires hypervigilance. Dogs that simply want to visit another dog may find that the other dog doesn't want to be visited. You can avoid any incidents by watching your dog and maintaining appropriate distances. We will first watch an abbreviated version of the exercise and then discuss its particulars.
Handlers, come on in the ring, please, for your group exercises. Australian Shepherd 154, right here, please. Golden 156, right here. Golden 164, right here. And Golden 404, right here.
Getting closer. Looking.
This will be your 1 minute sit-stay exercise. Is everybody ready?
Ready. Ready?
Sit your dogs.
Sit.
Leave your dogs.
Stay.
Back to your dogs. Exercise finished. Prepare for your long down exercise. Is there anyone not ready? Down your dogs.
Lie down.
Leave your dogs.
Stay. Stay.
Back to your dogs. Exercise finished. Please maintain control of your dogs as you exit the ring. This entire class is qualified.
The judge or the steward will announce when group exercises are about to start. At this time, the judge will explain how he or she wants you to bring your dog into the ring.
Novice B sits and downs, team number 47, 51, 53, 84, 276, 277, and 284. They're all here.
Okay, you can enter the ring. Following you.
Dogs should be brought into the ring in judging program order. To put it another way, let's say that dogs that have shown in the individual exercises are dogs 21 to 39. Dogs 25, 33, and 35 were absent. Dog 34 showed out of order because of a conflict in another ring. Dogs 23, 29, 31, 37, and 39 non-qualified in one of the individual exercises. These dogs are not eligible for the group exercise. The judge or the steward will order the dogs in the class to line up outside the ring in the following order: 21, 22, 26, 28, 30, then 34. The dogs must show in this order. The judge cannot move a dog because the handler wishes to avoid being next to a particular dog. The ring is 40 feet by 50 feet, and the judge will bring the 6 remaining dogs into the ring. Now we'll reset and assume that only dog 21 non-qualified in this same class. This leaves us with 10 teams to show in the group exercise. At the judge's prerogative, he or she may show half of the dogs in 2 sets or all of the dogs in 1 set. If he or she brings all the dogs in, they must be positioned facing away from the line of dogs behind them. The handler should listen carefully to ensure that they are in the correct order when entering the ring. Frequently, the lineup is in close quarters. Watch your dog. Dog aggression outside the ring in this situation can result in being released from groups. The judge may not be able to determine which dog was the aggressor, so both dogs involved may be released. The exercise is conducted on leash. The regulations require you to have a leash 6 feet long. You should measure any leash used for this exercise. It is not uncommon for a manufacturer to sell a 6-foot lead that includes the hand loop as part of the length of the leash. The result may be that the leash is as much as a foot short. This will force you to stretch your arm out in order to maintain the 6-foot distance from your dog. Since the handler is not to have a tight leash in this exercise, nor should they manipulate the leash, the correct length of leash is important.
Leave your dogs.
Stay.
Back to your dogs. Exercise finished. Please maintain control of your dogs as you exit the ring. The entire class has qualified today.
Let's go.
Right. Does that mean you're not 6
Good
feet?
job.
Okay, we
The
should
judge or
go back to
steward will
order
explain
number
how he or
12,
she wishes you to
number
proceed
13,
to
and
your
number
position
15.
in the
Please
group
come into the ring in
exercises.
that order.
Listen carefully and follow directions. You should, as always, enter the ring with your dog under control. This is particularly important since your dog will be in close proximity with other dogs. The judge will have you line up in position. The first exercise will be the long sit exercise. Your dog may begin in either a sit or a stand. Once all the teams appear to be in position, the judge will ask, "Are you ready?" On an affirmative response, the judge will order, "Sit your dogs."
1 minute sit.
The judge will wait a reasonable period for everyone to sit their dogs and then order, "Leave your dogs." If a handler is having trouble getting their dog to sit, the judge cannot wait very long to start the exercise. This would be unfair to all the handlers whose dogs sat immediately on command and whose sit exercise has now turned into something longer than the required 1 minute. When positioning your dog for the long sit or down, make sure the dog's leash is not under the dog or wrapped around a leg. If it is, any movement of the leash may cause the dog to move out of position. The timing of the exercise begins with the judge's orders, "Leave your dog." At 1 minute, the judge will order, "Back to your dogs." In returning, you will walk around and behind your dog and step into heel position. The judge will say, "Exercise finished." At this point and not before, you may release your dog.
Exercise finished.
Your dog must remain under control between the exercises. The judge will then repeat the process for the long down exercise. During the exercise, your dog may not leave its place or its position. Moving from its place, depending upon the degree of movement, will be penalized. On the judge's order, "Leave your dog," the handler may give a signal and/or command to sit stay. The handler will walk 6 feet away, turn and face their dog. Their leash may not be tight. The handler should avoid any body language that appears to aid the dog in the exercise. Handlers may fold their arms as long as their leash allows this while remaining 6 feet from the dog. Otherwise, they should stand naturally with the leash arm extended to accommodate the slack required. If the dog moves a significant distance from the place it was left, it would result in an NQ. Small movements for balance may incur no penalty, but turning or inching toward the handler certainly would. Any change in position during the exercise would require an NQ. If the dog were to change position as the handler steps into heel position, a substantial penalty should be applied, but it should not be an NQ. Continuous barking or whining may also result in an NQ and/or release. There are certain common courtesies that should be adhered to, although they're not in the regulations. They are good sportsmanship. Handlers should leave their dogs and return to their dogs at a speed matching the slowest handler. A handler that has mobility issues therefore sets the pace. Again, it's not a regulation, but it is good manners. Handlers should also be careful not to move too closely to another dog as they pass, since this may cause the dog to change position. If a dog non-qualifies in the first group exercise, the judge will release the team from the second part. The handler should maintain control of the dog and quietly leave the ring.
Okay, let's go.
After the long down exercise, the judge will announce the qualifying teams. As always, it is expected that you celebrate your team's success. It is important that you maintain control of your dog. Take your dog by the leash and exit the ring. Once again, maintain a respectable distance between your dog and others so as to avoid any incidents. Once outside the ring, continue watching your dog on the way to your crating area or wherever you're going next. Actions resulting in an NQ in this exercise would include those listed above and which we will discuss individually. The dog must remain in the place that it was left. Moving a substantial distance from the place where it was left will result in an NQ. The definition of substantial is left to the judge to determine, but generally judges use about one body length as a guideline. Generally, minor adjustments for comfort or balance are not scored, but movement from place is. Regulations require that small movements are scored as substantial. The dog must not change the position in which it was left before the handler is back in heel position. The dog must not stand or lay down during the sit portion of the exercise, nor sit or stand during the down portion of the exercise until the handler returns to heel position and the judge says exercise finished. If the dog does change position during this period, it is an NQ. If the dog changes position at the point the handler reaches heel position, the penalty should be substantial. The dog may not bark or whine during the group exercise. Barking and whining disturbs the other dogs in the group. If the judge determines that the barking or whining is continuous, or that it is interfering with the other dogs, he will NQ the offending dog. The handler gives an additional command or signal to stay. On the judge's order, leave your dog, the handler will give a command and or signal for the dog to sit stay or down stay. If a signal is used in addition to the command, it should be given at the same time as the command. As they walk away, in error, handlers sometimes give an additional command or signal to stay. Specifically, the handler gets one opportunity to tell the dog to stay. Even if the handler did not give a signal or command at all, no signal or command may be given after the handler leaves the dog. Other penalties that may be applied and that will be scored as minor to substantial depending upon their extent include but are not limited to the following. We will discuss each of these specifically. The handler does not go 6 feet from the dog. On leaving the dog, the handler must go about 6 feet from the dog and turn and face it. Remember, there is no backing in obedience. A few inches from 6 feet probably won't be scored, but a foot or two certainly should be. The handler holds the leash tightly or manipulates the leash. Attempting to control the dog with the leash, depending upon the extent, should be a substantial penalty up to and including an NQ. The handler releases the dog before the judge's instruction, exercise finished. Celebrating your dog's success is important and expected. However, the judge may be waiting for all of the handlers to be back before releasing you, so it is important that you wait for the judge's conclusion of the exercise. Wait for the direction, exercise finished, then feel free to release your dog. The handler fails to maintain control of their dog. The handler must maintain control of their dog at all times. This is particularly true while leaving the ring. The dog should not jump, pull, or tug on the leash as it leaves the ring. An excited, lunging dog exiting the ring is in the proximity of other dogs is a recipe for aggression. A penalty for an out-of-control dog exiting the ring starts with a substantial penalty. In a final look at penalties, a substantial penalty should be applied should the handler in the process of getting the dog to lay down or sit have to reposition the dog. This is particularly true if it has been moved to prevent it from interfering with another dog. Depending upon the extent, the penalty could rise to a severity requiring the team to be released from the group exercises. This concludes our discussion of the Novice Group Exercise. We hope that it's been informative and will assist you in your enjoyment of the sport of obedience. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe so that you are aware of new videos. Coming next will be the open heel-free exercise. We hope that this video has served to provide helpful information that leads to training and showing success. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe so that you can receive other videos as they are released.